reaction from Josh Frydenberg, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister. Clearly you're happy with the outcome here?
Oh, very happy. I think this is a triumph, really, for Tony Abbott and for Joe Hockey and for Australia, because, as you say, front and centre of this communique is the commitment to jobs and to growth through our Brisbane Action Plan, and there's also this infrastructure hub, the first of its kind, that's been set up in a host nation, commitment to do work on tax, too big to fail, anti-corruption, trade, which is so important to Australia. And there's also a line in there about sustainability of finances in nations, and particularly around debt to GDP ratios. I think that's quite important.
Just on this, that some of the final comments in his last answer there from the Prime Minister in relation to, and we were discussing this beforehand, how new are the commitments being put on the table? We still haven't seen what the Australian measures involve, but there was a line there from the Prime Minister, let me quote from him. We all know that the Labor, the policies of the Australian government are in respect to this. He was talking about budget items. We haven't agreed to any new policies, but the policies that we've already got out there on the table are fair income, paid parental leave, welfare changes, etc. So are there any new policy measures in this action plan?
Well, you'll be able to go through that in detail when it's published, but we believe we've got a commitment to increase our growth over 2% over the next 5 years, and that is part of this Brisbane Action Plan. But we've got a comprehensive policy when you look at budget sustainability, deregulation, infrastructure investment at record levels, so I'm very confident about that. But David, one thing that's really interesting is highlighted in the first paragraph of this communique is that the world needs stronger economic growth. And we've seen the IMF downgrade international growth forecast to 3.3% for this year.
And this was a point one of the journalists, foreign journalists, made there. The base for global growth is deteriorating. So I guess that does make the 2% commitment more important.
Absolutely. 3.3% this year, 3.8% next year, and below the 10-year average of 4.1%. So we do need this. The IMF's called for it, the OECD's called for it, and I think 2 days of meetings among the world's top leaders, the heads of the international organisations, 85% of the world's GDP, it's all present here in Brisbane.
Point 13 in the communique, profits should be taxed where economic activities deriving the profits are performed and where value is created.
Strong language.
That is strong language. And what does it mean in the case of, the example of an Apple iPhone? Is the economic activity and value created here, or is the value created where the thing is designed?
I'll leave that to the bean counters, because obviously this is going to be legalistic. It's going to be very legalistic.
It illustrates there'll still be, it's not that clear cut.
And there's so many vested interests here, and you're talking about so much money at stake, that it will be the subject of much debate and review. But I think this is a consensus document, and Australia's done very well to keep it to 3 pages, David.
And to get something in there on that issue.
And to get something in there on this issue. And I think it's actually talking to the general public. This is one of the issues that really resonates with them.
Finally, climate change. I just want to go specifically to this line in the communique. We reaffirm our support for mobilising finance for adaptation and mitigation, such as the Green Climate Fund. So Australia, will Australia do that? Support the fund?
Well, I think the Prime Minister made clear there are a number of funds. He will take this back and consider it in more detail, but he did state that we believe climate change is real, that man contributes to climate change, and we need to work out the most effective mechanism.
Is the get-out word there, such as?
There's no get-out words or get-in words. I think it's a compromise in terms of this document. It's a consensus-based document. We're very comfortable with the language, and I think we're very pleased with the outcomes.
All right. Josh Frydenberg, thank you very much for all of that. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you, David.
Well done on the G20. We saw Vladimir Putin leaving earlier. There he was shaking hands with some of the police escort. Other leaders leaving as well, and we're getting pictures of those. But I want to go now